Save the Semantics, episode 311. It is April 28th, 2025. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. Recording this on a Monday afternoon/evening. Nice. Going back to some nice weather after this weekend, which was kind of dour and cloudy and all of that. Not a bad weekend by any means, but, didn't exactly have the chance to go out as I wanted to, or exercise outdoors, which, well, to be honest, I haven't really been doing much of that anyway, so what is there really to take away from that? But it was a really good weekend of basketball, which I'll get into. I'll just listen. First off, I'll just say, and most series are not done yet. The 1-8 matchups pretty much done. Well, the Memphis Grizzlies and the Thunder one ended in a sweep, and then this one, the game that's going on right now, which is the Heat and the Cavaliers, will also look to end in a sweep. If I check the score right now, it is 49-20 for the Cavs in the second quarter. So I think we can call that one wraps and kind of move on to the next one. Warriors and Rockets will be playing Game 4 tonight, which will be a big one. I'm really hoping that they'll be able to pull this one off. I don't know if Jimmy is going to suit up for this. If we're willing to take the risk on resting him for one additional game. But if that is the decision, hopefully that benefits both him and the team moving forward. Because if we end up winning this one, again, I'm not gonna count the eggs before they hatch, all that stuff. But I think it would be, regardless of what the result of this game is, I think he should try. I think it would be best for the team to try to play in Game 5, right? So I'm hoping that they pull this one off. This will be really advantageous. If you look at what is going on with, and again, it's looking too far ahead. Take it a series at a time, honestly, right? But just I think it's best to just wait to see kind of what the results of everything else is going to be. But just focus on this series for right now. A couple other things, just kind of following up on some Switch 2 stuff. And I don't know if I recalled talking about this over this weekend, but pre-orders basically sold out. I believe I did mention this, right? How the pre-order process was kind of a nightmare for those involved. It has sort of made me think about it, and this is something that I have considered before just deciding not to pre-order, was the potential availability or lack of availability of systems in the near future, right? That was something that I had thought about. If I were to make the decision to, or if I was going to make the decision to pre-order the game or pre-order the system earlier as opposed to getting it later. So, and then also there's also the issue of potentially the console price going up due to manufacturing and all that nonsense. But that, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that is something that I have thought about, and whether I regret maybe not pre-ordering it. Cause I don't know, what is the situation going to look like with retailers and are they going to have, cause ideally what I would like to do, it would be nice for me to just be able to walk into a store and just buy it. That's a little unreal, that feels a little unrealistic considering the whole just the shortage of it and all of that. So and also just how am I going to be able to scramble to go get one if the time comes? Not that I'm trying to be not that I'm in a hurry to get it or anything, right? As I've talked about, but is it something where, eventually I do want to pick it up. I do want to see what the consensus is for those that do get it. If it is like a positive enough reception to where it is like a significant upgrade from an original Switch base model, I think that is something that I would really like to consider and try to get it over the next maybe year or so, right? But is that going to be possible? Considering just shortage in supply and all that stuff, you know what I mean? So that is something to consider, and that is something that I had in the back of my mind when just deciding to pre-order or not pre-order, you know what I mean? Who knows? Even if I was kind of involved in the initial scramble of trying to get it, there was no guarantee that I was going to be able to pre-order it in the first place, you know what I mean? So there's always going to be kind of a risk reward thing, and how I approached it, anyway. But I'm okay. I am okay waiting for it. I am just, the only thing is just being concerned about like in the near future, which who knows, man. Like, I think people are saying, I've heard just people saying that it might be like 6 months before the console is like stocked back up, you know what I mean? Just based on, the time to manufacture and then ship and all that stuff. So it might be a little while before I get my hands on one. Again, which I am fine with. I have plenty of things that I have on my docket that I would like to play. So I am, again, not in any rush to pick it up, but it might be a little while before am able to get my hands on one. So we'll see how that goes. I'll be keeping, obviously I'll be keeping my eye out on the reception of the release of the console, how well it handles things like Mario Kart, and whether the graphical upgrade and all of those things are significant enough to incentivize me to pick one up. But yeah, those are things to consider. Is it a more, considering just the whole, a big issue for me has been the Joy-Cons and the controllers. I recently had to buy some new Joy-Cons because I couldn't really use my old ones. The joystick was kind of jammed, and, part of it was my fault for maybe not taking the best care of it, but also just the fact that it's so easy to kind of, for it to like break apart is kind of an issue, or has continued to be an issue over the course of me holding the system. So, maybe the upgrade in the quality of the controllers is going to be enough for me to eventually pick up the Switch 2. So we'll see how that goes. Just wanted to kind of do a little quick sort of update on, my headspace on it and where I'm feeling about it. Not too much has changed. Rather, it has made me kind of consider, wanting to maybe try to get it earlier rather than wait for it in the long run. But honestly, I'm patient when it comes to these things. I can wait. It took me a while for me to even pick up a Switch. Like, it took me like a couple of years, really, when I had sort of saved up the money for it, but because I was just sort of waiting for there to be the best time to get it. So I was kind of late to the party regardless. So I'm okay kind of waiting a little bit longer to get my hands on the next big thing. But yeah, that's all that. I've just been playing Xenoblade X, and that's been fun. It's just gonna be such a time sink, man. Just looking at it, there is so much, man. There's so much, and I don't know how long the main story is. I'm kind of slowly making my way through, but really the chunk, the majority of the game kind of takes place with, how you see fit, how you want to spend that time. Do you want to spend time, I don't know, just like focusing on just getting, maxing out, specific characters, or do you kind of want to try to do as much as you can? I'm kind of leaning on the side of almost not I don't know if I'm going to be able to 100% this game, but I would really like to try to do everything that this game has to offer. So I've been just kind of focusing on doing kind of the major quests, the affinity like character based quests, and all that, and really trying to kind of round out the world, if you will. Also doing these quests kind of upticks like the percentage of completion for like surveying an area and that kind of thing, and that kind of gives my it's like it gives your brain kind of like the sort of like a happy signal that you're doing good work, you know what I mean? So I like, in a lot of cases, like I just like seeing the number go up. I like being able to fill out everything on the map. That's kind of what I enjoyed doing in Tears of the Kingdom last. Like that was just kind of like a major goal of mine just to completely fill out the map. And that was really fun to do. So I kind of want to try to do the same in this game as well. So that's been kind of like a overarching goal in this game. But I also so I recently played a little bit of the Oblivion remake at a friend's place, just like a quick like hour sesh or so, and I had a lot of fun with it. I never, I think way back like I don't even, like probably 10 plus years ago, I played a bit of Skyrim also at another friend's place, and I don't know how much of it I really, it was just kind of funny, just the interactions you get and the fact that you could like steal stuff and everything like that. I felt just the vibe of playing Oblivion, like I really got this like sense of, I don't know, just like going around in caves and picking up treasure and fighting bandits. We did this like little, I think we did like a couple of like these like spelunking kind of caves in Oblivion where we were just kind of running around and trying to pick up treasure and getting caught in traps and all that. And it was fun. It felt very, I don't know, it felt kind of just, it felt this sort of, I don't even know how to really describe it, but it just felt very, it just like a chill kind of gaming experience, you know what I mean? There's not like a ton of pressure put on you to, I don't know, I think this is kind of one of the things that I've struggled with in playing something, like a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring or whatever, and maybe I just need to give those games more of a fair chance, right? But this game, the sandbox, the quintessential kind of sandbox open world type game with an Elder Scrolls game, just I kind of see the vision. I kind of see what people and why people fall in love with these games, just because of just the, it's really not about the combat is simple. That's not at all what that's not like the focus of the game. The story, I don't know what the story really consists of, but it is just the combination of like the atmosphere, the music, and just you kind of just like trudging around the world and discovering stuff. It's kind of the same sort of feeling I had when I first played Breath of the Wild, you know what I mean? Just kind of like seeing all of these things and nooks and crannies and all of these little pockets of areas where there is kind of maybe something to discover. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, with I'm getting that a little bit with Xenoblade X. It's a little different because so much of that game is just it's kind of it's built around the fact that you survey areas and stuff, and from that point on you're able to kind of pinpoint where treasure is and where certain locations are and all that stuff. So it's a very kind of methodical approach to how you carve out the world in Xenoblade X. I think in this one, or in a game like an Oblivion or a Skyrim, there is less of that, and it is much more free, kind of roaming. You're just very open ended, and you can kind of do, you know, I don't know, you can kind of do whatever. You can do stupid stuff like steal things from people's houses. You can go like pillage for treasure. You could, I guess you could try to like maximize your character stats and all that stuff. You could do all of these things, but it's just a very different kind of experience that I kind of have this sort of feeling as a part, because I've looked at Skyrim, and I part of me was like, okay, it's cool, the music is fantastic, but it's like, the art design and like the artistic choices, it's not anything that blows you away. You know what I mean? Like, you don't look at like, wow, look at Skyrim, it's a beautiful game. It's really not that at all. There's just like this, I don't even know what to, like, how to even put my finger on it. But I understand what people mean, and I understand why so many people have like kind of a connection with it. You know what I mean? I'm getting a sense of that as someone who hasn't really delved into the series proper. I kind of understand what it is that they're able to kind of derive from it. The kind of the gameplay loop of just being able to do whatever you want, of like, hey, listen, there's something that you can go see, you can just walk over there, in a similar sense to a Breath of the Wild. Obviously, Breath of the Wild succeeded and came after Skyrim. I think it was inspired by something like Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls games, but it's just such there's like a unique feeling to it that you can't exactly pinpoint, whether it's just like the atmosphere, the sound design, all of these things that kind of contribute to it. Like, it is not at all, it is not like a product. It is not a product in pristine condition. It is much more so, what is the game able to get, or rather, what are you able to kind of get out of the game despite the limitations that it holds with the graphics or whatever. It's just the sense of just adventure, I think, is really what you can kind of get out of it, and just the vibes. I don't know, I'm kind of craving that a little bit. I've been having a real kick with Xenoblade X, but I think once I get through that game, which is a behemoth of a game in itself, I kind of want to maybe put Skyrim on my list of games to play. And just whenever Skyrim goes on sale for Switch, like, it's just, because it goes on sale all the time. It's a 10 plus year old game at this point, going on 15 years when it came out in 2011. But maybe it's one of those things where if I really delve into it, I can just kind of get the most out of it. You know what I mean? Despite how maybe archaic some of the menuing and some of the game mechanics might be, there is like there's really something to take away from it. And I don't know, I kind of want to delve into that a little bit. There's this kind of feeling of me wanting to delve into it. It's been something that I've really haven't picked up. And it's like, if I appreciate something like a Breath of the Wild, then maybe I can appreciate Skyrim and maybe an Oblivion as well. So I'm considering it. I'm really considering it. I know it's wild to say, like, it's this game, Skyrim has been out forever. It's been remastered 100 times, and it's been re-released 100 times. And it's like, now it's kind of like, I think with this Oblivion release and, seeing kind of the memes pop up. I remember watching like the Skyrim, like, YouTube poop videos way back in the day, and just those being like the funniest things. But never fully getting into the game myself. And I think with enough patience, it might finally kind of give me something that I don't know, maybe I didn't know that I wanted, and I didn't know that I could appreciate. So yeah, I am considering it. I still have just like a bucket of just a whole ton of games that I want to play through, obviously, but I am considering it. So yeah, that's that. I didn't expect to talk so much about a game that it's about freaking Skyrim, out of all things, but it is something that that I am considering. All right, let's get to some basketball. Crazy weekend of hoops. I was able to catch a good chunk of at least like the really good games and the endings of some of those games. Let's talk about the craziest ending, which is the Nuggets Clippers game for Game 4. And it is so funny, just the because like I was talking about how, you know, Milwaukee and Denver were maybe have to potentially change the outlook of their franchise, and in the case of Milwaukee that still stands, but with Denver that series is still very much alive for them. And I predicted that Denver would win in 7 for this one, I believe. And that's still up in the air. But we got a crazy ending. The Nuggets were up by like 20 plus points, I think, going into like the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. And then the Clippers just came all the way back. They took the lead. And then at the very end, you had a buzzer beating alley-oop, unintentional, from Jokic to Aaron Gordon, who barely manages to get that one off, and that just ties up the series, which is crazy. This momentum that you kind of had with the Clippers coming back, I was like, uh-oh, this might be it. You know what I mean? And it could have been it. If the Clippers, if they had gone up 3-1, you could still maybe expect some push from Jokic to, kind of lengthen the series and bring forward the series, but it was a little hard to envision that happening if they had gone down 3-1, just considering the balance of the rosters and everything like that. But now it's 2-2. And I had completely kind of not written off the Nuggets or anything like that, but I had, again, maybe prematurely, given them a bit of a eulogy when the season is not over yet. You know what I mean? And there's a couple other, I guess there's one other series where, I guess a couple other series where I was incorrect about how they were going to go. But with this one in particular, I think I had sort of reacted very quickly to just the fact. I mean, their last game was so bad, just being, just losing by 30 plus points. That feels like a pretty demoralizing win, but I think the fact that they were able to bounce back and now tie the series and home court is kind of back in their advantage, I think is huge. And, that Denver crowd is probably going to be just riled up and like crazy. So, yeah, series is far from over. This is going to, I have a feeling that this is going to go 7. I have a feeling this is going to go 7, and it's going to be one of the better series that we've seen in quite some time. So that is kind of my expectation for it. I'm very excited to see how that is drawn out. Some of the other series, the highlights that really come to mind, Wolves and Lakers. And it's funny because I caught the tail end of both of these games. I wasn't really watching them because I had some other things that I was doing. But I managed to catch like the last 4 or 5 minutes of both game 3 and 4, where the Wolves just took over at the end and closed it out. In the case of game 3, you had Ant and Jaden McDaniel was kind of closing it out, putting the game above by double digits at the end there. In game 4, it came down to just like a crazy decision at the end, like a couple of calls where it could have gone a certain way. I think the big one obviously was the LeBron foul on Anthony Edwards when he was driving to the basket. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. That could have, I mean, they had a really clear chance. The Lakers did have a really clear chance to tie the game there, at the end there. But that missed. And, now the Wolves are up 3-1, which is pretty crazy. Still there is like a chance, it's hard to count out LeBron, down 3-1 as a traumatized Warriors. Okay, I can't even really say that. As someone as a 3-1 victim fan myself, it's hard for me to really count out LeBron yet. I think there is kind of this expectation. I don't know, man. If the Lakers win Game 5, I think that there's a little bit of pressure on a team like Minnesota to try to, you gotta close out Game 6, man. You gotta do it. You cannot lose that game, if it comes back. So I think in the case of Minnesota, you really gotta win this next one. I don't think you really want to come back home, because because then it's like, listen, I think right now, obviously, Minnesota has the advantage. They have three chances to close out, but there's still pressure. There's still a lot of pressure. I think if I were, and just coming from the perspective of a fan who celebrated too early, being up 3-1 in the finals, you close out the next game. You don't play with your food. You don't try to like mess around. You don't try to like. It's like you don't celebrate too early. You never do any of that. I think it is. I kind of expect the Lakers to win game because their backs against the wall. Like, you're gonna have, I think, LeBron and Luka kind of go off and stuff, and there is the possibility that Minnesota kind of takes the foot off the gas. I don't know. I'm still kind of like, I think it is more me doubting the Timberwolves than I am like scared of like the Lakers, you know what I mean, or scared of LeBron. I mean, there is of course a little bit of that fear if I were, a Timberwolves fan. But I'm just kind of like, I mean, they've closed out, they've looked really good in these last couple of games, Minnesota has, but there is still kind of a lingering part of me. It's like, I need to see them close this out, before I can really, I guess move on to the next thing. And in the case of, that is going to be like looking too far ahead because the Warriors still need to deal with the Rockets. But depending on how that series go, how the Timberwolves and Lakers series go, that's going to be we're going to have to kind of look at what the matchup is going to look like. Who would we want as a potential matchup? I think the Lakers technically, I think, would be better as a matchup for the Warriors. I don't know. It's a little too like either way. I think if you are I don't know, I think if you're the Warriors, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. You just got to win, and you just got to take whoever comes up next. And that's that. But I've been wrong about this series so far. Again, it's not over yet, but I was thinking that this might go, maybe the Lakers in 6 or 7, and I've been wrong about that. I think the biggest thing was just the fact that the Lakers, and I honestly haven't really been watching a ton of Lakers for like the end of the regular season. So I didn't realize how short and how bad, or just the lack of like bench support that they had, because they ran out like they didn't do any substitutions in the second half of Game 4, and I was like, okay, they really don't have anybody on that roster that could like give 40-year-old LeBron a little bit of rest, and you just didn't see it. So that was, I guess, kind of surprising to me. Considering, and I wasn't, I don't know, I just wasn't paying like that much attention to kind of the whole, like I watched the Luka and Dallas game, but outside of that, I wasn't really paying too much attention to the Lakers, so I didn't know like what their roster situation was, but they were winning games and stuff. They had like a nice little run, so I was like, oh, okay, maybe they have like a more like a better supporting cast than I guess really recalled, but that has not been the case this series. So I mean that is kind of an issue, right? I mean I think for the Warriors, like despite how shallow the Warriors supporting cast is, like I think Steve Kerr is willing to trust some bench members more, and try to give the team some different looks. And really, I think in a situation where if the Warriors were to play the Lakers, that would be kind of advantageous for the Warriors, right? So that would be something to consider. But again, we'll see. Can LeBron pull it off? I don't know. He's 40. He's old, man. He looked awesome at certain points in the game 4 game, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, Warriors Rockets are going to play later. I forgot to talk about the Knicks Pistons game. So I'll just say this quickly. The ending call where there was like a call, it was a no call of Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting a 3. I get it. Like, I understand. I mean, I would be pissed if I was a Pistons fan, absolutely. And the fact that they admitted that it was a no call, why would you do that? Like, if you're a ref, the last 2-minute report shit is such nonsense, man. Like, you fuck up and there's no repercussions, I'm getting mad. Like, I get it, like, officials, all that stuff, but it's like, why would you even admit it? Like, just say, like, hey, listen, the contact was marginal, and it didn't affect his shooting, and people can get mad about that, but just the flat-out fact that they admitted that they made a mistake in not calling it, why would you even put yourself in that position? Because then it just completely compromises just the... I mean, I'm not saying like the integrity of officials haven't been an issue for however long the NBA has existed, but I mean, like, why? Like, it was a series-altering non-call, so it's just like I don't know. It's really bad, and I don't know. It's not a it's bad. It's bad, man. It's a really bad look. Like, just say that you did it. Say that it was marginal enough to where it warranted a non-call, right? Because then I think that would have been a little bit more justified, considering how physical the rest of the game and the series had been up to that point. And when I did see it, it was like a slight bump of Josh Hart. It was not. I don't know, man. Like, I actually feel like either way it would have been okay, in my opinion. But just the fact that they admitted it was a foul is just it's bad, and you can't redo it. You can't do anything, and the Pistons are just down 3-1. I don't think they were going to win the series anyway, but it doesn't matter. Like, 2-2 in this series, it would have been huge. And now they're kind of on the brink of elimination in Game 5, and I don't know, it feels like this kind of is in the Knicks' court, and it more or less feels like the series is kind of over in a way, which is really unfortunate because I really have enjoyed the games in this series. It has been a very competitive series despite the Knicks taking a 3-1 lead. So just the way it ended was just really disappointing, because overall it was a really great game. You had like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns just going off. Cat was hitting some crazy ass shots at the end of the game there. So, it was a great game overall. It's just the fact that it ended in just such a disappointing fashion, and then you had just the refs like admitting that they messed up at the end. I mean, just brutal, man. Like, why Why even why even just say anything? It's useless. It's useless. It's just going to stir the pot even more. Like, I don't understand the point of those things. I don't understand the point of a last 2 minute report if it does nothing, if it doesn't reprimand the officials, if it doesn't do any of that, if it doesn't require any form of, I don't know, just like fixing. I understand refereeing is difficult, especially on the fly, but like, why would you, as officials, put yourself in a position to further like denigrate the product of the game and all that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is it a little over? Am I being a little, hyperbolic? Maybe, but like these are things that can genuinely affect the results of the game, and it's disappointing, man. It's disappointing. I was just like, I kind of shut it off when they like, I don't know, when I call it, I'm like, man, that just sucks, dude. And then on the broadcast they were talking about how there was contact. I'm like, dude, it just sucks. It's just so disappointing to see that, and just the fact that the refs just, I don't even know. It's really unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue like there were a number of situations in which the Pistons could have held on to the lead and they sort of let that go and all that stuff. And, you get it. Like, maybe they shouldn't have put themselves in that position to begin with, but there are other instances of where that call goes in the favor of the Pistons where, and then Hardaway would be able to shoot free throws to put the game away. So I don't know. It's kind of not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Anyways, Bucks Pacers. That series is basically over. Really sad news about Damian Lillard going out with an Achilles injury. Just, man, that's just devastating, man. That's just such a tough way for him to go out. And it feels like the Bucks as we kind of know it, is over. And there's going to be a lot of questions. I think that the Giannis question is going to be like the biggest question mark for like the off season, and that'll be something that I think is worth going over in the future. And then what else? You got the Celtics and Magic. Yeah, Celtics go up 3-1. Not really much to talk about there. And the other two series, the 1-8 series, are probably going to end up in a sweep for the Cavs and the Heat. So, yeah, that's that. Warriors are going to be playing later tonight, so I'm excited to look. I hope they pull this one off. If we're able to get to a 3-1 lead, I'll be really happy. That would really give us. I would be very confident moving forward if they go up 3-1. That they'll be able to kind of close out the series sooner rather than later. And then hopefully Jimmy coming back. I don't know if he's playing tonight. I haven't really checked. But, yeah, lots more basketball. Good stuff. There's been some really good series so far. I don't know how many of them are going to go to 7, like outside of maybe the Nuggets and the Clippers. But hopefully some of them get extended just so we can get a little bit more basketball. But, yeah, it's been a great first round of the playoffs so far, and I guess I'll talk about Game 4. I think I'll talk about Game 4 tomorrow for the Warriors and Rockets game. So yeah, that will be right up next. All right, recording this on Tuesday. I just saw one of the biggest chokes / collapses probably that I've ever seen in just like the NBA playoffs. I've seen plenty of just like regular season chokes, and I've seen like series chokes, obviously, with like the Warriors and stuff, but this I had not seen before. It was crazy. Basically, I'll get into that in a little bit. Quick little recap of yesterday. The Warriors beat the Rockets and are now up 3-1. Probably one of the most stressful games that I've seen in recent memory. It's been a while, probably since the 22 finals, honestly, since it's been like this stressful. As like a Warriors fan, Like I was just like the first half of that game was just an absolute bloodbath. It was ugly basketball. It was gross. I was just like I just needed to. I think everybody kind of needed to just like take a little time to like just kind of gain composure after that first. It was just so many like so much just stops to the game. It just extended the game to way longer than I feel like it should have been. That's the thing that I dislike about just like the whole review process is just it takes so much time. I get it, you want to get things right, but man, it just completely just halts the flow of the game. But anyways, end of the game. Steph wasn't doing particularly well. Like they were guarding him pretty heavily, and they were doing a good job of denying him. And it really came down to kind of the last shot. Şengün they set up a play. Essentially, it was just a one-on-one with him and Draymond. Not a very good shot, I don't think. It was like a jump hook from the free throw line. It was just not a good. He was cooking, but he was not like Şengün was not. He was doing well against basically everybody else who was guarding him in a Trace Jackson Davis who played for the first time this series. Quentin Post, just anybody the Warriors were putting on Şengün, he was just kind of taking care of them really, really easily. So in the final possession with Draymond and five fouls, he stood his ground, and yeah, that was kind of it. Brandon Pajemski had an awesome game. He looked incredible this time. He really stepped up when Steph was struggling. Same with Buddy Hield. He was looking awesome, like defensively in the very first, the first part of the game, which kind of allowed them to get to like a, double digit lead very earlier on. That didn't really last, obviously, as the game progressed, but he really, as Steve Kerr said in like the locker room, he like set this tone defensively, and he really did that, and it was great to see him kind of really put that effort in. I think like it sort of translates, if you're able to hustle and do things on one side of the ball, that can translate to you doing better on the offensive end, which did. He had I think 17 points. So really good game from the supporting cast. Jimmy Butler had a great game as well, coming back from his minor injury. I mean, he is still technically playing injured, but he was able to kind of play through that and really push through. And I think he had kind of a bit of a hitch after getting fouled by Brooks at the end there. So hopefully he's able to maybe, hold it down at least for just one more game if they're able to. I really would want them to close it out in Houston tomorrow night, which is a pretty quick turnaround, and really just kind of put themselves in a position to get at least a little bit more of an extended rest for Butler and even for the rest of the guys as well. So that would be kind of the one thing that I would really like. But man, what a crazy game. I mean, it was just it was a back and forth, and I think Steve Kerr had just did like an awesome job of coaching as well, and just the kind of the little moves that they were doing, whether it was like fouling Adams to get him to like the free throw line, and then just like kind of moving some pieces around. I think they did a decent job with Draymond off the floor because he was out for like the majority of the second half, but he closed it out when they needed him. So yeah, great game though. I mean, I was just like, it was stressful. It was definitely one of the more stressful games that I've seen in a long time. It's been a while since we've kind of been in kind of like high stakes games. So, I guess I haven't just been, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. But really happy, and hopefully they can kind of close it out tomorrow. That might be something that I'll probably get into a little bit more tomorrow, but I really want to talk about, and this was something that I was going to talk about regardless of, or even before maybe the game ended with the Bucks and the Pacers, but what an absolute collapse at the end there for Milwaukee. So what happened was, it was overtime, and this is fresh too. Like, this just happened. maybe like 15, 20 minutes ago. Bucks were up by 7. It went into overtime. Gary Trent was just hitting every shot. I think it went like 4 for 4, 12 points in the overtime, which is crazy. And it was like 35 seconds or something left in overtime. Bucks were up by 7, and it was feeling pretty. It was like, okay, this is kind of the Bucks, I guess final fight, just in reaction to Dame going out, and just kind of putting up like a final, front, and trying to extend the series. And then Nembhard goes down and hits a 3, and you're like, all right, it's definitely not over, man. These Pacers, they know how to stick in this. They know how to stick around. And then some other possessions, I think Giannis went to the free throw line, and I think he went one for 2, I believe. Halliburton goes down the court. He gets into the lane, and it's an and one for him. I think it was Gary Trent that fouled him. And then the next thing you know, it's a 1-point game. Bucks had the ball. They bring it past half court. I think it was AJ Green that was passing to Gary Trent on the wing, and then the ball just slips through his fingers and under his legs and out of bounds. And then you're just, I just at that point I'm like, that's the game, man. It's just like and then considering that Halliburton, at least for like the fourth and overtime period, he kept getting into the lane, and just with ease. Like there was just no pressure. There was no point of attack pressure at all. So he just easily got down to the basket, and I'm like, they're just gonna. And that's exactly what happened. And that was just like the game. Halliburton went and he put up a layup, and 1 second left. There was not enough time. The Bucks didn't have a timeout. Pacers win by 1. I mean, just a painful ending. Just all of the context and all of the circumstances just leading up to that point. All of the things with Giannis, which I'll get into in a little bit. Just everything. And then it ends in one of the worst ways possible. You know what I mean? Like, if they had gotten blown out, like, it would have been a little bit more like, okay, yeah, that makes a little sense. If they hung on to win and then they lost at home, like, at least it's like, all right, they put up a fight. It's understandable. But this, where they just completely let go of the lead, a sizable lead, if they just held on to the ball, it would have been fine. But that's not what happened. So yeah, it just is such a, I don't think I've seen anything like that before in my memory. But I did kind of want to talk about, because the game and the series was, I think it was slated to be over considering everything, right? So I don't know. It's just the way it went down was just absolutely devastating, man. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the Bucks a little bit, because I sort of went into this game, and I really wanted to watch a handful of it, and I was really like, unless it became a blowout, then I probably wasn't gonna watch it. But when it sort of turned out to be a pretty good game overall, I decided to stick around and watch a good chunk of it. At least like the second half, I pretty much watched all the way through. But in kind of the back of my mind, well, not even really the back of my mind, I was really thinking that this might be the last game that we would be watching as Giannis as a Buck. And so I kind of wanted to just sort of take that in, because how much of just a monumental, figure he had been with this franchise and everything. And I know it might be too early to, again, eulogize, and I'm doing quite a lot of that recently, because, and I don't know, it's just, it feels like there's just sort of an end of an era kind of thing with this. But it is wild, man, just seeing how we ended up here with this Bucks team and the position that Giannis is in now. The possibility, the very large possibility that this might be the last time he's going to be with Milwaukee is crazy. You know what I mean? Because he's one of those players alongside some others. There's only like a few that you can really think of that can be considered lifers, considered as like a one team player, maybe outside of like Steph. I don't know. Maybe even Steph. You never know. Steph, I don't know what the future is going to be with Steph, right? Is he going to retire as a Warrior? Is he going to take on, so like a smaller contract and go to like Charlotte where he grew up? I have no idea. But I think that with Giannis, like he is like he has been kind of the Bucks for the majority of his tenure and his time, being kind of the face of the franchise and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know it feels very much like an end of kind of an era. I don't know. And this is kind of it's different because I can't think of another star in recent memory that's been in this sort of position. Like, I guess you could look at, LeBron when he was with the Cavs and he just couldn't win in his first stint there, and, the decision and going to Miami and all that. But that was just so different because he hadn't won a championship with Cleveland during his first stint, right? So, there's obviously different circumstances and everything, but like Giannis is such a legacy player at this point, really, right? With the Bucks and everything, it kind of brings me sort of back to 21 when they won the championship, and that was something that I've been kind of thinking about because, obviously I'm a Warriors fan. I would say outside of like the 22 championship, the one where I was like, I have a very fond and kind of clear memory of is the 21 championship with the Bucks. And I think that has to do with just sort of that time as well. Like there's a lot, I mean, this was just right after, things finally started to open back up in 2021 after COVID. And it was a very, where everybody was just kind of starting to come back out into the world and sort of just get, just normalized into the world. And it was kind of the first time seeing crowds with, I mean, during the playoffs there, I think they had crowds as well. That was the Trae Young series, right? In New York. That was the whole collapse with Ben Simmons and everything. There's a lot of moments and then, like the KD foot on the line. There's a lot of things that kind of stick out to that those playoff series in my mind, because I think I connect it with that year and that time. The 21 finals in particular, game 6, when Giannis went for 50, that has been kind of etched in my mind because I watched that game with my friends. It was kind of one of the first times that, well, I mean, we had, I had gotten, together in social groups and stuff, but it was the first time it was just like this kind of like a event of sorts of getting together with friends and, watching a game at someone's house. Like it was just kind of that energy and, seeing just like these like packed crowds in Milwaukee was really something. Like it felt kind of like it felt kind of like things were getting better in a way. And I know it's hard to sort of envision that from, 4 years removed from that time, but that was kind of the feeling. And it was really like kind of hopeful and optimistic and stuff. And so I kind of tie that series, and there's just so many moments in that series, and I mean, like the very key moments really stick out to me. The Giannis block on Ayton, and then obviously the Drew Holiday steal leading to the Giannis alley-oop. That's kind of been, I would say that's probably one of my, like, even outside of this just Warriors, championships. Of course, I can't take that for granted. I would say that specific play really sticks out in my memory. And I think I will probably think about that quite a lot. And this is me despite not even being like a Bucks fan necessarily, but I did like that team. I liked Giannis. I liked just, his character and his personality, even if he is kind of a goofy goofy ass dude sometimes, but just, his, who he was as a player, and him kind of like getting the MVPs and winning that championship at a pretty young age at 26, and really kind of cementing himself as one of the best players in the league. Still is, obviously, but and then obviously cementing himself as one of the best players for in the Bucks franchise. It was really it was just wild, his reaction to getting the trophy, him crying on the bench and everything. Like, it was just like all of that, and the series, and that year of the playoffs, even though the Warriors weren't in it, like it kind of really, really stuck with me. And it's so interesting kind of looking back on it now, and maybe it's something that I'll probably think about a little bit more and talk about a little bit more once Giannis, I guess, does leave somewhere. Who knows? Like, who knows if he even, who knows if he does, like, he might stick around and really try to work at it. He might really be committed to just staying with Milwaukee, but I think there have been enough hints and breadcrumbs just kind of laid out to give the indication that it might be the time. It might be the time for him to move on, because, like, what can he really? He put everything into this series, and it wasn't enough. And you could say the same about that for some of the other series that he's had in the past couple of years. Obviously, last year he was injured, and the year before that he was injured as well. But, like, 2 years ago, or was it 2 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago. In the 22 playoffs, right? When they played against the Celtics, and he really was just doing the most that he could, with, an injured team. But it just wasn't, injured like Chris Middleton, and I think Brooke Lopez too. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, that just wasn't enough for them. And, they eventually, it just, this might be the end of the road for him. But so it's just sort of, and it feels that way. I don't know. It feels that way. I was watching this game, and while they were up and before they choked it, I'm like, all right. I mean, I still was thinking Milwaukee was going to win the series, whether in Milwaukee or Game 7, like if the Bucks managed to pull it off. But I was just kind of like, in my head, I was just like, this might be the very last time that we see Giannis as a Buck, and that's kind of crazy, just considering his legacy and everything like that. And what is the second half of his career gonna look like? You know what I mean? What are his intentions? Like, does he want to win another championship? Does he want to remain a part of the franchise that he essentially grew up with? There are a lot of questions that kind of come to mind with that, and it's a lot. And yeah, I mean, I just, it's so, there's a lot of, obviously there's still a lot to go over, and there's still plenty of time. He's 30, but who knows how long he's going to be able to, like, play at this level. You know what I mean? Just his play style and everything. I don't know how conducive it is to a long career. So it's like, does he want to try to just maximize his time as still one of the best, like, top 5 players in the league, and try to get another ring for himself? Like I think it's just up to him, right? And I'm sure the Bucks understand that. I'm sure that, like, front office understands that, and it's gonna be, it's gonna be the question of this offseason, and what his future is gonna be. But I just really wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the history there. There's a lot more to delve into it, because I think with Giannis, there's a lot to really get into with, his trajectory. Starting off as someone just a very just super raw talent, and then becoming one of the best players in the world. Just is such a crazy story. And I'm sure, there's already been, like, documentaries and stuff made, which is, like, it's a little early, you know what I mean? Maybe wait until he's retired, but, that stuff is out there. I mean, I am fascinated to see what the rest of his career is going to look like, what the rest of his story is going to pan out to be. But I just kind of, I think about that 21 series quite a bit, you know what I mean? And it was just kind of this, and I think it sort of marked this. Obviously, the Lakers had won in 2020, but with it being in the bubble and everything, not to discredit that or whatever, it's still a championship, sure, but it was kind of the first championship where there was kind of this, like, change, right? I guess you could point it back to 2019 when the Raptors won, and that was kind of the end of that, the KD Warriors and stuff. But I think with the Giannis chip, it really kind of marked this change of the guard in a way, of there being kind of the end of dynasties in a way. You know what I mean? Who knows? Like, the Celtics might win this year again. They have a good enough team to do that, but it doesn't feel like that. So it's just it's a different, that I don't know. I just kind of associate that 21 playoff run with a lot of things, just within, my personal life, and with basketball and stuff like that. Like, it was just kind of like a lot to take in, and I think along with that, like, Giannis's presence and him as a player and as kind of a legacy player, plays a lot into that, and I think it's worth delving into, and I think there's a lot more to talk about as his career progresses, right? We'll see, we'll see what it looks like. We'll see what his decision is. He might end up saying again, so that this whole spiel might not really matter too much, but there is a real sense that this was kind of the last time we see him as a Buck. I kind of get that. I kind of got a similar feeling of seeing his reaction. Like, he felt very accepting of it, like accepting of that end, kind of in a similar way to, seeing Clay walk off in Sacramento last year. Obviously, it's a different situation because he just didn't play well in that game. But it was just kind of like, man, this might be it, and it really feels that way, and it's kind of sad, but it just kind of is. It is a reminder that, and maybe it's a little bit of a little hyperbolic, or a little bit of, maybe I'm overdoing it, but it kind of is sort of a reminder that things are not permanent, things are temporary, and there's value in kind of accepting the moment as is, and accepting really that time. And it's important to have those memories despite where it might have ended up. You know what I mean? With how things quote unquote end, right? It's important to have those memories despite how crappy things might be at this time. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of this whole spiel. I mean, this whole moment really made me think a lot about just, I don't know, just the passage of time and just kind of connecting and, you know, looking at moments and where I was at that time and all that. So there's obviously, again, there's more to kind of look into and there's more to talk about. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussions happening later tonight and tomorrow, and so I'll get into that. I'll get into that once I get a decent hold on things, and then I'll talk about the other games that happened tonight. Knicks Pistons are happening right now. Who knows how that's going to go? Yeah, are the Pistons going to be able to extend? Clippers Nuggets are going to be later tonight as well. That's going to be a big one. And then Warriors Rockets. So maybe I'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow as well. But anyways, just going to do a little combination of yesterday and today's recordings and post that. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening as always. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.